Good morning. I'd like to call the Highway and Waterways Committee meeting of Thursday, May the 23rd to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Dennell? Mr. Featherling? Mr. Snipes? Mr. Miller?
Present.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Ashcraft? Ms. Rittman-Akemi?
Present.
Ms. Turner?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I don't have any public comments on my desk. Is there any public comment? Any public comments? Hear none. Next will be the approval of the minutes for April 18th, 2024. Can I have a motion and a second? Smith, motion. Second. Okay. That was Snipes. Everybody in favor signify by say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The same sign. Okay. Motion carries. Under Waterways, we have a few things here. On the Aron Park Sentiment Progress Update. And Chairman Wheeler, is the Sentiment Progress Update, is that AJ is going to be talking about a little bit on that? Okay. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll tee it up a little, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. The our new engineer from Burke Engineering and out of Indianapolis, this is the Waterways division, if you will, is AJ Freaky. AJ's on Zoom today. So he was going to explain some of the updates, but also some of the very good news, and kind of discuss potential timelines and really, anything else that the chair or that we may want to fill in the gaps on this project, because it is truly, it may seem like 100 years in the making from just this board working on it, but it truly has been 100 years in the making of any actual work done on the river in this manner. So with that, AJ, I don't know if you can hear me. The floor is yours to kind of give us the update and introduce yourself a little bit, and then we could move forward. You're on mute. Again. You're on mute again, AJ.
All right.
There we go. Can see you.
You're still on mute. We can see you, but
all right, we're gonna have to move on, AJ. We're
they'll
not,
give you a little bit more time. So
can you unmute your? We can't see what you're typing either. So. Can you give me a wave if you can hear me, please? AJ, can you wave if you can hear me, please?
okay, now
Go ahead and
unmuted.
disconnect, Kelly.
No,
He's unmuted.
But I'm not getting a response. I don't know if he can hear me or not.
If I kick him off, he's not able to re-enter.
Right,
So
oh, really?
I would need him to leave and then come back. If he's having trouble with audio,
Can you see any typed messages?
no.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Let's move on to the river grant equipment order list, and I think Ben has some presentations for that.
So because of that, the device is off. You keep taking your audio. Is that on? Yeah. Okay.
Ben, do you want to do your part of the presentation on the list?
I mean, it could be kind of a combination of Chairman Wheeler and I if we wanted to talk a little bit about the packet. I mean, do we want to?
Yeah, let's Go ahead, Ben, and then I'll fill up any gaps.
Okay, so as of this morning, AJ sent over the packet for us to review. We're going to have a big final review on the proposal. It's a 270-page document, but Greg, some staff and the state's attorney, and I will be reviewing it for a couple pieces of completeness. But I guess the big one on my side is grant completeness. Under the procurement code, there's certain ways in which we have to procure the document, and so I'll be leaning pretty heavily on Greg to make sure that we've got all the pieces there. But we do have some grant specific requirements, and this committee, and I don't know the exact makeup, but might remember this. When we did the courthouse basement, what we did was we left the information as kind of a placeholder in the document for all of the subcontractor procurement requirements for WB, MB, those things, and we allowed them to bid, and then only the final full packet of documentation is required from that final bidder, just so that way they can meet the requirements, but we don't have to do, everybody who bids doesn't have to do all of that legwork, because I don't need a Illinois Works provision for apprenticeship if you're not going to be our contractor. So there's gonna be a couple documents that we're gonna include in there where we need to make sure that the language is clear to the bidders, that we got a phone call coming in, Kelly, I think, where they've got that information available to them, but we won't necessarily require that for all bidders, if that makes sense. And we did the same thing when we did courthouse basement. It works really well, and I hope it makes it easier for the bidders to complete the bid packets, and then us to work through that due diligence on the backside. AJ, are you on the last three digits 472?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Welcome.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I had issues connecting via my computer, and I'm connected via my cell phone now. So I'm sorry that I missed the first few minutes there, but it seems like I've connected now.
Go ahead, you have the floor.
Basically, AJ, I was introducing you to the committee, explaining that, you know, you had taken over the projects for us, and that, thank you. If you could kind of maybe explain a little bit about yourself, you know, and then where we're at in the project. I explained that you were going to have some good news for us, and then Ben was actually just teeing up a little bit about the bid that you had sent us. We have some changes to go through, and at some point here today, we'll be asking for the release of that bid pending the updates that Ben and I were talking about, like, we don't have county executives in Illinois, but they have them in Indiana, so that all has to be changed. Just little things like that. And I think we have to add an MBE or some type of a bidding requirement that we have. But beyond that, we're ready to go. That's the good news. So AJ, the floor is yours to kind of talk about where we're at and where we're headed and timelines and all that.
All right. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to meet everybody virtually here. My name's AJ Fricky. I'm with Christopher Burke Engineering. I'm the Director of Engineering in our Indianapolis office, working on the Aroma Park project, taking it over the finish line here. And Mr. Wheeler stated we do have some good news to present, in that we got our last permit yesterday from the Illinois DNR that arrived. So we now have all the permits that are required to complete the project. So we are updating those bidding documents to make sure it incorporates the permit and the conditions therein. And so we had a few minor modifications that we had to make from our previous submittal that we made before we received the permit. We had a draft that we sent over, got some good feedback on that. We made some edits, and we still have a few minor edits to make, as you had suggested, but barring anything significant on your review, we are prepared to bid this project soon.
Ben, did you have any comments regarding the actual, beyond what you said, the document? We can talk about timelines, but we want to make sure we get this out the door as quick as we can.
Yeah, so this is Illinois capital money. So what's nice is we didn't acquire a bunch of federal requirements with that. So Illinois defers typically to our procurement proceedings at the local level for doing the procurement. So any timelines that we would have in our local procurement would be appropriate for that. So if we want to notice for, have it out for 30 or 45 days, whatever our standard procurement would be acceptable. There are some specific requirements in there about number of bidders and things like that, but all of that really mirrors what we have anyway in the Illinois Procurement Code.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Ben or AJ? Any questions?
I do have a couple of questions, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Do we need to reference in the bid document, and I haven't read it page to page, I kicked it down to you on that one, Ben. You were the great recipient of that wonderful task, but 228 pages, by the way, as of today. Our Highway Department 150 operating engineers are going to be shadowing the work on this. Potentially, if there's, in the cab, outside of the cab, in discussions on site, just so when we go to clean this out going forward, to maintain this site, we have some, at least, experience in what the geometries are there and what the expectations are. Obviously, there'll be permits. Do we need to account for that in any bid on the front end, that the contractor will allow that? Or is that something that's assumed that we can, once we hit the job site, it's, hey, we got these guys over here, they're operating engineers, they're going to be shadowing them?
No, I think that should be clarified. Under the contract, obviously, we have the ability to supervise the work that's being done. Burke's team will be out there, Greg will be out there. We're allowed to do those things. I think that potentially could cross a line if we're having an expectation of somebody being in the piece of equipment with an operator, or if some of our requests affected their timeline. I could see a vendor saying, hey, we were expecting to do this over the course of 8 hours, and because we had your team in and out, it took 12 hours. There's a cost associated with that. I think we just need to probably clarify that language to make sure what we have in there under that supervision component covers our ability to shadow the job. I don't see it being a major problem, but the same way we would have any of these other grant requirements, when we bring it forward and get the bid back from the lowest responsible bidder, we want everything outlined for them so there's no surprises on the backside, and then we don't have to kind of do that long fight through the project where there's complaints about not well, we didn't know that was going to happen, and we understand that there's going to be some unforeseens on this project. You hit a boulder the size of a Volkswagen, you just deal with it, but we don't want to add anything that we potentially could be out in front of like that.
Or you hit a Volkswagen. Yeah.
That would be that too.
Okay.
Anything you would have, Greg? Are you happy with this process so far? Obviously, we're just opening this, but
As for the shadowing part, it might be okay to insert a special provision in so everyone who bids knows ahead of time this is coming, and it's all part of the contract, and they can bid accordingly. It's probably going to raise the price because it's an inconvenience to them, but at least it won't be a surprise in the future.
Anything else? Anybody? Anyone? Mr. Snipes?
If we send them out to bid, is there a way, well, I guess they would, if they would include it, what would be the additional cost if we were to have someone shadow? That way we can itemize that or single it out and kind of know if it's in our best interest, economic interest, to proceed accordingly.
Chairman Wheeler?
we will have our 150 people shadowing this project. It's not if, we will.
And what we're saying is that we want to make sure we know the cost of that, so if they can have that outlined.
What I'm saying is we will have our people shadowing.
We kind of heard what the chairman said, but the thing is I'm saying as a board member here that we want to see that cost itemized so that we will know what that cost will basically be in the project. It could be minimum or nominal, or it could be, it could be a little bit of challenge, but we just want to know the cost when that bid process comes back to us.
Chairman Wheeler, before I go back to you, let me just give the Mr. Hildebrand an opportunity here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I Snipes, to answer you, I just don't think the cost of that matters at all, because the education they're going to receive by doing that in the future for the river and what our operators will do, they need to be in on this project. So cost does not matter with this.
Chairman Wheeler.
All I was going to suggest is that, you know, if you would like to make a motion that this board requests of the finance committee, or this committee requests the finance committee change the bid to put that in there, he can make that motion and look for a second. Otherwise, it's going to stay the way it is.
We're just simply saying that if the bill is itemized, we would know. That, me,
What a second is
yeah.
we.
So the we can be anybody that I basically represent in District 18 right at this particular time.
Mr. Chairman, I
wanna
still
know.
have the floor. Is there a second to Mr. Snipes' motion?
I did not make a motion.
I don't think he made a motion yet. Just give me 1 second before we go back and forth between the two.
Right. We're just looking for an itemized cost. When they do the cost, I'm going to look for it. So if we look, when this board look at the cost, I should be able to see what if there's any addition. Any addition, because we're not building this out, so we're saying that we want some shadow for the future. That's fine. I just want to see what that additional dollar amount would be. That shouldn't be very difficult.
So, Mr. Sniper, just a question. You're just making a comment.
Right.
You're not making. You're not making a
Right.
motion.
Okay.
So, if that is the case, you just, you know, we had a question and you made a comment,
Right.
and then things would stay the way it is, I guess. Go ahead.
I'll just say the value you're receiving by learning from those people is something that you can't replace. And that's all I'll say in regards to the cost.
Anybody else? Any other comments? No? All right. Well, thank you so much. And-
Can we have a motion to release? And Greg.
I'm sorry, can you restate the motion again? Are you asking for?
We'll need a motion to release the bids pending review from legal, engineering, and grant.
Okay. Mr. Miller, second. Ms. Smith. I'm gonna go ahead and ask for, well, I don't think I need a roll call for that. We not just spend the money, so everybody in favor signify by say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Is that, are we, everything completed with AJ then?
Do you have anything else?
Yeah, I think we have all the information we need. We'll probably want to coordinate with you offline to make sure we make any last minute edits to the documents that, as we had previously discussed. But other than that, I think we have all the information we need to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much, AJ.
All right, thank you.
All right, before we move on to the next item, which is the removal bid thing, I would like to say that we talked about this before in the past in other meetings and even in a full board meeting, but I wanted to bring that back up again for anybody that is listening or going to be watching this, that we are actually now looking for individuals for the advisory committee, for the Waterways Advisory Committee, which I would like for maybe Chairman Wheeler to give a little bit of a quick background on that again, and so we'll have an information on for people that will be interested. How many members do we have? Will be 9, right? Correct?
I think the number was 9. We tried to mirror the competencies that are required of an advisory commission.
Right.
And also just people who like the river and live on it or by it or near it and grew up on it, or that matters too. You know, there'll be questions about that are empirical, and then there'll be, you know, qualitative and quantitative things that go through the committee. You know, whether it's either beautification or if it's flow, it's 2 different conversations, and some people may be concerned with either. So that's why the boat clubs are there. We've got to get water off of the farm fields. That's why the Farm Bureau's there. But each person doesn't live in a vacuum. They're not in silos. They all interact among the river. So we need a group of people, as we consider things, to throw their own ideas out there. we send things to them and say, we're looking at this, what is your input, on this? They're not voting for it, they're not funding it, but we need a vehicle to ask the boaters, the fishermen, the drainage district people, the farmers, everybody about what we're doing, how it potentially could impact, and then really having fact-based discussions on not I heard and he said, she said, to having real engineered solution discussions at the county board level based on what people want to see from the public.
And then the role of the advisory committee will be to make suggestions.
Yep.
They're not gonna make a final decision. We'll come down to this board here or this committee and then go to a full board if it's needed, but that's how it's gonna happen. And also all the appointments will be made from, coming from this committee.
Yeah, they'll go direct from here to,
Right.
I don't think I think it was set up to where it wouldn't go to the full board. This committee
Correct.
would do it. The one thing I would say is there's 9 votes, but the room could have 25 people in it. That doesn't, but there's only 9 people that are voting for a particular position of that committee or group. I can't remember what we called it. But that doesn't mean everybody else's opinion doesn't matter. They can come in and throw their 2 cents in and talk about what they'd like to see. But it's not to be exclusive, it's just to provide a formal structure for that information to flow both directions.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Yes,
the way I put it.
and the ideal thing to have is to have this committee, the advisory committee, completely formed before we get the project started.
Right.
So we can have everybody on board and then know what to expect and give some ideas from the members of that committee.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to clarify because something just came to my head. I don't want to give the impression that we're taking the place of a drainage district or we're taking the place of some of these other institutions or government bodies out there. If somebody has a complaint about a drainage district, they still need to talk to the drainage district or a kudos, if you will, to go that direction. I just thought of that. We should clarify. It's not a new body that's going to supersede those. It's just a place for people to get together to talk and vet ideas.
Okay. So the other thing is, you board members, if you are around or if you live around the area that that would be some places that we can have potential individuals that would like to be part of this advisory committee, please spread the word. Get them to contact the county on this. Any questions or comments on this? No. Okay. So let's move on to the Roma Park sediment removal bid. Is that Ben that's going to be talking about that?
We just did it.
Oh, you went over that. That was the one that we did. I'm sorry. We just went ahead. We just skipped.
No, I skipped your order. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I've got a little information on the center item, which is the
All
$7
right.
million
No, not a problem at all.
And so I try to do this when I'm up here. A big thanks to Greg's team. This has been a pretty heavy lift on finding the right equipment, finding the suppliers who can get it, making sure that it's sourced properly, making sure we meet our procurement requirements. It makes my life a lot easier because his team's so familiar with this. So we have kind of a multicolored matrix in front of you showing all of our cost estimates. I can tell you we've seen a drastic increase on 1 or 2 items, and just trying to get a couple actions today, or a single action today, but also just generally an understanding about where the $7 million will be spent as it relates to river access and improvements, and also then kind of actual regular ongoing work for the river system. So in green, I would say we have kind of the big rolling items, maybe is a good way to put that. So we have a good list of equipment in front of you with relatively short lead time on it. I mean, it's kind of like buying a car in the height of the pandemic. It's not terribly short, but it's really not, frankly, too bad. Some of the equipment's in stock now. We've gotten lucky on some of that. But really, the purpose of putting this whole matrix together is to show the committee where the money's going, and you'll notice we have a $7 million grant, and I've already got more than $7 million in costs. And we put some estimates together on the front end of this. You're trying to buy the right equipment. We've been through this now with the vendors who supply the equipment. For instance, the company that sells the fin hydro seeders, we're on the phone with them, talking to them about what is the piece of equipment that people use that mount on a boat, that run up a channel and hydro seed banks with. And say, oh, this is the exact piece of equipment for that. It pulls water out of the river so that we don't have all that extra weight on it. I mean, it's all of these kind of nuanced things that I don't know anything about. I mean, I managed to put a big number on a grant application, but fundamentally, our team was able to track this information down. But all of these things have a cost. And so we wanted to just show the committee where we are on those. Obviously, we've made some, I don't want to say promises, but we have relationships with existing entities. We've worked with the Kankakee Park District for access at Beckman Park. We offered some funds for that. We've got some river access needs with 2 fire districts, both in Aroma and Limestone. Originally, we were talking about doing boat improvements for Limestone. When they saw Aroma's hovercraft, they said, hey, that might be a better piece of equipment for us. So, and even understanding that the Aroma Park was purchased for $49,000 and some change 6 months ago, it could be $55,000, it could be $60,000. I don't necessarily know what that direct cost is going to be until we get to it. But we tried to lock down a list for you, kind of in I would say in 3 buckets. But for today, out of this committee, we would like permission to move forward on finalizing with the grant entity for all 8 items that are in green. That would get us our big pieces of equipment. It would allow us to get our excavator with the grapple attachments. It would allow the aerial cutter, access to move the equipment around, hydro seeder for stabilization. These are big pieces of equipment that they'll have some lead time that we need to order, while keeping in mind we're still working through the nuances with the grant agency where we don't have to spend $2.4 million, because Chris in finance told me no. I asked if we could capital outlay that, and he said not a chance. I said, obviously that would be a decision for this board to make, but we wouldn't want to make an outlay or even ask you to make an outlay like that and then just hope the state pays us back. So we're working through how to work on that capital advance right now to make sure we're not asking the board to spend $2.5 million in the hopes that the state will pay us back. That just, from the faces, I don't think that's something you're interested in. So that's something we still need to work through, but we would really like permission to move forward with this now.
Chairman Wheeler.
I do have some questions here because I'm looking at a couple things. Let's talk about the hover streams. One of them was already purchased.
Correct.
So can you explain, I guess, why we wouldn't include that in that first bucket so they can get reimbursed? See, there's purple there too, and I'm wondering if it's the green and the purple, and then.
Yeah. Okay. So, thank you for that. So the 3 items in purple are not equipment, but the hover stream was purchased. Beckman Park boat access has already been completed by the Park District, and the access engineering agreements have been authorized by this committee previously. So I guess it's 2.4 plus 200, so almost 2.7. So yeah, the front page is the items we're asking for today, I guess, the first 11 items. And then we'll get to the remainder of the items, citing the big building, finishing the boat access locations once engineering's done, the other hover stream. We pushed some of the equipment off, the tug and push, not necessarily required right now, but fundamentally, as we start getting out in the river, we'll need a safety barge for our crew. We'll need to make sure we have all the equipment ready. The front page just seemed to be items that were, I don't want to call them low-hanging fruit, but they are critical components of river maintenance. These are the big pieces of equipment that we absolutely have to do the work. You can do the work from the bank, but when we get out in the middle of the river, the rest of the list will come through, and we'll be required to do that. And then obviously the large ticket item, the sediment trap, we'll need to site and place that under permit. So that's a kind of a long lead item, but also still important.
Ben, from the list here that you have it in the green here, did you put this in the category of the numbers based on what we need to get as a priority of acquiring, or is that?
Yeah, these are not in order of 1 through 8 is not, 1 is not the priority over 8. Some of the equipment cannot be used without the other equipment, but we did not build this. I would say 1 through 8 is one bucket. That is the priority bucket.
Okay.
The second, 9 through 11 has already been spent, so it becomes a 1A bucket. And then you kind of have a second bucket behind that in blue.
Is that 9? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering how much of this equipment is used? Is this all brand new? Is this under warranty?
I don't know about the warranty specifics on them, but this is new equipment we're talking about.
Okay. You wouldn't want to take a chance on used equipment being out in the middle of the river, something happening, that'd be a bad place to have to work on it.
It's not that it wouldn't work. I think when the senator and the chairman talked about putting the funds together to do this, the goal of this is to build a bondable project. So typically you would say road, water, sewer, right? I mean, I can easily bond those. Those are around forever. But because this is rolling stock, they want it to live longer than 23 years. And so we end up with a new piece of heavy equipment, not an automobile, but a new piece of heavy equipment will last that 23 years, and the state can conceive that as a bondable project.
I'm all for the new equipment. Thank you.
With the date of availability here, some of those equipment is not gonna be available until later. Is that going to delay anything when it comes to the project at all?
I mean, really, the green bucket's deliverable within this year.
Okay.
And I don't know what it takes to get a spud barge delivered. I'm not a river work guy. I do paperwork. So that could be months. I mean, obviously we have a grant term we're up against. We have a 2-year grant term, but there are opportunities to do extensions to the grant. The biggest thing is making sure we're moving on these funds to ensure that the governor's team isn't looking at a pool of funds and saying, hey, there's other funds that could be used throughout the state in other areas. Maybe we just grab a hold of those, and then our grant's no longer our grant. So if we're in the middle of buying things, it makes it a lot more difficult to sweep those funds.
Okay. Okay.
Ben, basically what you're saying here is we're tooling up to do the job.
Most certainly.
Yes, that's all this is we are tooling up to do the job. We already have plans set and get started, and we just need to tool up to do the job. We have the resources to start the project.
We do.
And that's where these funds were supposed to be spent.
And that's where they're getting spent.
And that's where they're getting spent.
Right. All right. Anybody else? So we just need an okay from the community.
I say a motion to approve securing items 1 through 11.
1 through 11. Okay. 1 through 11.
Absent 9 through 11 already being approved. Yeah, we'll put it in there if it hasn't been covered.
Okay.
I think it's been covered, but let's just make sure with the motion that we'll move forward, order everything, get it going, request advances from the state, everything to get these things here as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
So we're still gonna be doing the motion to combine all the way up to 1 through 11?
Yes.
Just to make sure?
Just to make sure. Yep.
Okay. All right. So mission moves.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just as an example, the Beckman Park boat access involves an intergovernmental agreement. So I'm assuming we voted on that because we have permission to do an intergovernmental agreement.
Right.
But so there is some assumption there. That's why I say just to cover it, make sure 9 and 11 is there.
Okay. Mr. Kirker made a motion, second by Mr. Smith. Okay. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Rittman-Akemi? Ms. Turner? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. So let's move on to the, I'm sorry.
A related question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm going to make some of Greg's hair fall out. As a branding guy, somebody who looks at marketing, do we need a different color scheme for the Waterways division than that big bird yellow they've got going on over there? I know that's going to drive you nuts. You want everything to match, but I'm wondering if our Waterways needs to be a color of blue with a different logo. I'm just wondering if that's something you want me to investigate. As a committee, as a department head, as a chair, I want people to be able to look at that and see it in the water and say, that's the county.
Any opinion from anybody? any,
We will make the decision. We'll just bring ideas back. If you want to keep it yellow or that yellow orange, is it burnt yellow? Is that what the color scheme is?
Forgot what the exact shade is, but yeah,
It's
pretty
hard
bright
to
yellow.
accessorize with, I can tell you that. But yeah, you tell me.
well, my personal opinion, I think it makes sense because a lot of times people just have the tendency to maintain a long-term memory when they see a logo and associate the logo to a specific brand or whatever that would be. So I'll have no issues with that. I think it's not a bad idea. It's a good idea just to have a little bit more of a specific pointing to whatever we're doing, the project per se.
And you don't have to do anything. It's just I'd be bringing some ideas back.
Right. Okay. Mr. Snipes.
I'll be curious as to why the color scheme was put there in place in the beginning. Was it
I couldn't hear.
Why
why is the color scheme put in place in the beginning? Was it to like heed and warning, or to make it more visible, like it was sometimes like a warning or get your attention? It's a brighter sign, or did they just? It was just a standard color and they just threw it out there.
I don't. That was a long time ago. I didn't even know.
Just check to see.
It's logical. Connect A to B. It's a safety color, so I could see why they would want that to be the color. I think that's what he's getting at.
High visibility.
High visibility.
Right.
I'm just curious. It wasn't something.
Basically be a safety issue, high visibility.
You're sitting by the side of the road. Yeah.
If it's construction equipment, it would be basically high visibility. It might be an OSHA requirement.
So bottom line is there any board member here present that will have an issue into looking into and do a little bit of an investigation on how to create something more specific for the waterways? No? Okay. We'll look into that. Come up with something more specific. All right. Is there anything else on the waterways? All right. Let's move on to the highway here. We don't have any bidding or letting, right? We're gonna move directly into the county pay estimate.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
County pay estimate, I make a motion to combine and approve.
Okay, we have a motion to combine and approve. Can I have a second? Mr. Snipes. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes? Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Whitman-Akemi? Ms. Turner? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next will be a resolution authorizing the county board chairman to sign a local agency agreement for federal participation on appropriating matching tax funds for reconstruction of the County Highway 9 between US 4552 and Spruce Street and Mantino. Is there anything that you would like to say, sir?
Just to add a few words. The breakdown of the costs is shown on page 8 of the 11. It's buried further down in the document, but it's called Schedule Number 1, and it's got division of costs, and you can see where the money's coming from for this project. 3.855 million is MPO money. The state gave us 2.918 million in EDP money, thank you, to help with the building of this project. And our share, the local public agency, that's us, we've got Rebuild Illinois funds, 2.288 million, and we would be utilizing 527,000 of matching tax funds. So the rebuild money's already been given to us by Illinois. The matching tax would come out of our account. So really, our cost for this project right now is $500,000 for a $8-9 million job. So we're doing good.
Okay, I'm going to start with just a motion on the second, and then we can go into some questions. Can I have a motion for the resolution? Mr. Snipes, second by. Okay, let's go with Mr. Miller. All right, any questions, comments on the resolution? Mr. Snipes?
Just want to thank the state for their contribution. That 2.9 million is cost saving to our people here in this town.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a roll call on this.
All right, Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkstra?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. McGimmy? Ms. Turner? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you. Is there any old business to come before this committee? Any old business? Any new business? Any new business? Any other business? Any other? Mr. Chairman Wheeler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just thought that the committee should know. I actually do want to thank, our Senator Joyce, and also our lobbyist who worked hard behind the scenes when we teed things up to get both RBI and this last 2.9 million. They went to work behind the scenes. So I would recommend to the board that they understand that there are reasons to have both, and both were very effective in delivering on what me and the board were asking for the whole time, which was them to stand behind this road development and get a $9 million road down to $500,000 of local taxpayer money. That's unheard of. It just doesn't happen. Greg?
Oh, I
Tell me.
agree. I'm not arguing.
No. So go buy a lottery ticket, because it just doesn't happen like this. Okay? And you probably won't see it again in your lifetime, I wouldn't imagine. Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
That's why I kind of thank the state, because I didn't want to leave nobody out. I think, even though our Senator Patrick Joyce was behind it, and the lobbyists, I think that Jackie Haas had something to do with it as well. So I don't want to be remiss of those individuals that have come together, and then on the east end, LG Sims and all the others that basically contributed to the yay vote to bring it our way, So as sufficing the governors, just to say thank you to the state, because again, it is something rare, but we do appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kirkstra, you had something you were gonna say?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Everybody in favor signify by say aye. Anybody opposed, same sign. Okay.